Hi, so this is how you make your paper people. There will be some instructions on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. There's also some instructions on our website where you can print out a sheet with little figures on and cut those out. But if you want to do your own, get yourself an A4 sheet of paper and then fold it and cut it in half, and you'll have a long sheet like this. Then what you need to do is to fold it in half and then fold it in half again until you have your shape. And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a figure on your piece of paper. When you're doing it, you need to make sure that the feet and the hands join with the folded side piece of the paper. And then you will have your string of people holding hands and walking and marching along together. So once you've done this, this is one that Revd Jane put together, then you cut it out, and when you've cut it out it will look like that, and then you unfold your people. There we go, there we are. And then once you've flattened it out, you can then colour them in and add flags like we did for our pictures. So have fun. You can make them in all different shapes and sizes. You can have them with their arms up high, you can have them with their arms down low, you can have the feet not touching and just kind of dangling down, but the arms need to be out to one side so that they hold on to each other. Have fun. Hello everybody, so this is how you make an origami cross, which is just using one sheet of paper and some folding and some tearing. So you start with your A4 piece of paper, and you want to fold this top corner down to here. So that you get a nice triangle, and then you're going to fold this point up here down to here. So we take that forwards and we fold it like so. So we have our house shape, and then what you're going to do is you're going to fold this side over to this side. There we go. You can do yours a little bit better, but you can lean on the table or whatever. So you've got that now, and then what you're going to do is you're either going to cut or tear down this here. So I'm going to turn mine around because I can tear easier from here, right? And then what I did on mine was I made mine with some little rocket tails at the bottom. Some rocket tails, so that when I open it up, it looks like a triangle on top of some wings. There we go. So that's our rocket. Now on the inside, you'll see that we've got all our folded bits here. So that's fine. So what you need to do is you just need to unfold it like that. Now, when in the video, what I did was if you put your finger or your thumb underneath all of those flaps and just slide those up, then your cross unfolds. There we go. So there is your origami cross, just like the one I had in my story.
One of the things we're thinking about today is the length of God's love. And he showed that to the Israelites in the desert when they were wandering around for 40 years, and he provided them with manna that fell from heaven. And manna is a bit like bread, so we are going to be making bread today to remind ourselves of the length of God's love. Now, what you're going to need for the bread, well, first of all, you're going to need to switch the oven on to preheat. So that's either 180 or 160 if it's a fan oven. So I'll give you a second to switch the oven on now, and then I'm going to tell you what you will need. So you are going to need 350 grams of plain flour. You can use bread flour, but plain flour probably works actually a bit better than bread flour, but it's up to you. You'll need a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 285 mils of milk, and some lemon juice or vinegar to put into it to make it into buttermilk. So you will also need some scales and a knife to cut across into it for when it goes into the oven, and spoons to stir it up with, and a little bit of extra flour to cover the baking tray with so it doesn't stick. So first of all, I'm going to put a bit of flour on my baking tray. I'm going to get a spoon and I'm going to just sprinkle it on my baking tray, which is down here. And then I'm going to just spread it around a bit with my fingers, which I have washed. There we go. So that will be nice and non-sticky. And then I'm going to put my bowl onto the scales and measure out 350 grams worth of flour. So let's see. Okay, we're up to about 200, 250, 312, nearly there, 350. Perfect. And then we need a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. I'm going to add this to the flour. 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and then half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to give that a bit of a mix up with a wooden spoon. Take this out from underneath it. And then I'm going to get 285 mils of milk. So let's measure up to 285 mils. $250. That's about 285. Excellent. And then in order to make it into buttermilk, I'm going to add a tablespoonful of vinegar. You can also use lemon juice. I'm using cider vinegar, but you can also use white vinegar. Pop that in there. Give it a stir around. Right. Okay, I am now going to pour most of this into the dry ingredients, but not all, because we'll see how much we're going to need. So I've poured most of it in. Now I'm going to stir this round with a wooden spoon, mix all the buttermilk in with the flour and the bicarb, and the aim is to make a ball of dough. Mix it up. I might start using my hands in a second, but it does get very sticky, so I'll probably flour my hands first. And that's why it's a good idea not to use quite all of the milk at first, because if you use more milk than it needs, then it gets very, very sticky and quite difficult to make into a ball. I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on my hands, and then I'm going to mix it up into a ball. see how we're doing for. You've got it in a ball here. Need to mix it up so it all sticks together. And see how it's doing. Might add a tiny bit more milk just to make it stick together a bit more. I'm going to use the spoon to mix that in before I go back to it with my fingers. Right, it's getting there. It is getting there. And it will be a bit sort of bitty. It won't necessarily be very smooth, but that's okay. So, I'm going to get my big ball of dough, try not to lose any of it along the way. Big ball of dough and smush it up into a ball and try not to lose half of it on my fingers at the same time. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to transfer my ball of dough onto a baking tray, making sure it stays as a ball. Just cut away quickly so I could wash my fingers. So pop that down there and show you what we have now. We have our baking tray with flour on it and then big lump of dough in the middle, looking good. And then I'm going to cut a cross in the middle of it, quite deep, almost to the bottom. And that is so that the dough will cook all the way through because it's quite thick. So, I'm going to pop that like that. And there we have it, our soda bread loaf ready to go into the oven. So I'm going to put mine into the oven now, and we'll look forward to seeing what it's like when it comes out. So that it needs 30 minutes. So I will pop it in the oven now and bring it out in 30 minutes. Okay, so the bread has been in for half an hour, so let's see how it's looking. And of course, ovens are extremely hot, so maybe mum or dad can do this bit, depending on how old you are. So I'm going to grab the bread and let's have a look. So here we go. Now, if it looks cooked in the middle at the top, at the centre of the cross, that's a good sign, because that's the last place that will look a bit doughy if it's not. But you can also put a skewer into the middle to see if it's done, or tap it on the bottom and it should sound hollow, but obviously being very careful not to burn yourself. So if you think it's done, then pop it out onto a rack or somewhere cool so it can cool down. And if not, then pop it back in the oven for another few minutes and take it out again in a mo. But here we have our soda bread, so hope you enjoy eating it. It's very tasty, especially when it's a bit warm.
I hope you enjoyed our prayers today that were said inside some dens. I hope you had a chance to re-look at the video and see how people had made their dens. If you'd like some help with making a den, first of all, you need to make sure that your mum or your dad or your grown-up has given you permission to make a den. Then what you'll need is some blankets or some sheets or something. And then you'll need either, well, we had a clothes airer thing that you put on wet clothes to make them dry and put those out so that we could put a sheet or a blanket over the top. Some people had their dining tables or their table in their kitchen that they borrowed and put a blanket or a sheet over the top of that. Or you might have some chairs that go round your kitchen table and you put those round facing the other way so that the tall piece of the chair is upright. and then you can put your blanket or your sheets over the top. If your blankets or your sheets keep slipping, you might want to use some pegs and just peg them along the chairs. And then you might want to put a blanket on the floor and some cushions and make it all lovely and cosy. You may even want to build a den on or near your sofa, because that's quite a big thing to help you to put blankets on the sofa and have over the top, or near your bed. But you must get permission before you start building a den, so that your mums or your dads or your grown-ups know what you're doing and they can help, because I'm sure they've made dens when they were small too. Have fun!